June 1914. In Sarajevo, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, is assassinated by Gavrilo Princip, a Serbian nationalist. The shots kill the Archduke and his wife, echoing across Europe and igniting a continent already on edge. But this was no isolated act. Europe was ruled by monarchs, real power brokers, not figureheads, who commanded armies, made alliances, and were often close relatives. The royal families of Europe were deeply intertwined, their personal rivalries fueling national tensions. Decades of competition for colonies, military build-up, and surging nationalism had created a climate of fear and mistrust. Monarchs, instead of calming tensions, poured their ambitions into an arms race, making Europe a powder keg. The assassination gave Austria-Hungary a reason to confront Serbia, but the web of alliances meant any conflict could spiral out of control. The death of one man set off a chain reaction, forcing rulers into decisions they couldn't reverse. Personal grudges and political posturing among Europe's royal families would soon turn a regional crisis into a world war. The world was about to change forever. At the heart of the crisis were three royal cousins, Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, and King George III of Britain, all grandchildren of Queen Victoria. Their family ties masked deep personal and political rifts. Wilhelm, insecure and ambitious, envied Britain's naval power and launched an arms race, alarming his cousins. Nicholas, gentle but indecisive, struggled to rule Russia and mistrusted Germany's intentions. George, steady and practical, saw Wilhelm's aggression as a threat to peace and moved Britain closer to Russia and France. Despite their affectionate letters, Willie, Nicky and Georgie, their flaws and suspicions drove their nations apart. Personal feelings and political duties became inseparable, setting the stage for disaster. The fate of Europe rested in the hands of three flawed men, bound by blood but divided by ambition and fear. Europe was split into two armed camps, locked in a web of alliances meant to keep peace but primed for war. The Triple Alliance, Germany, Austria-Hungary and Italy, stood against the Triple Entente, France, Russia and Britain. These alliances acted like dominoes. If one nation fell into war, the rest would follow. Monarchs lost the freedom to negotiate. Treaties forced their hands. Military plans were rigid. Once mobilization began, it was nearly impossible to stop. The Schlieffen Plan, for example, demanded Germany strike France before Russia could mobilize. The alliance system, combined with inflexible war plans, left Europe on a hair trigger. When crisis struck, leaders were swept along by forces they could no longer control. The continent was on a conveyor belt to catastrophe. Archduke Franz Ferdinand was a divisive figure within the Austro-Hungarian Empire. His marriage to Sophie, a noble but not royal, angered the court and led to humiliating restrictions on his family. Politically, he wanted to give more rights to Slavic peoples, threatening both Hungarian elites and Serbian nationalists. His reforms made him enemies on all sides, hardliners in Vienna and radicals in Serbia. Ironically, the man killed by a Serbian nationalist was the one leader who might have eased ethnic tensions. His death cleared the way for hardliners, making compromise impossible. As the July crisis unfolded, the royal cousins tried and failed to stop the slide into war. Tsar Nicholas pleaded with Kaiser Wilhelm to restrain Austria-Hungary, but Wilhelm had already promised support. Their telegrams, the Willie-Nicky correspondence, were cordial but fruitless. Neither would back down. King George V, with limited power, watched in dread as his government tried to mediate. But military timetables were already in motion. Germany's invasion of Belgium forced Britain's hand. A treaty obligated Britain to defend Belgian neutrality. With war declared, family ties meant nothing. The cousins' personal bonds were no match for alliances, nationalism and fear. The family feud had become a world war, sealing the fate of millions and dooming Europe's old order.